You making 10, 50, 200K per month on OnlyFans all comes down to one main factor: how many fans you have. But what if your current method isn't optimized for that? What if you're getting a low quality fan who won't spend any money at all in the chatting? That's exactly why I want to share with you this strategy on how we achieve results like these, and these for the creators that we work with. Make sure you watch this video all the way to the very end as well, because every segment of this full strategy was created for you to get more paid subs. And it's very important to understand that if you miss a single detail, it might not work at its maximum efficiency and it won't bring you the money that you were looking for. So let's jump into it right now. So here we are, guys. I have my screen here up in front of me to help illustrate what I'm about to talk about. And when it comes to 10xing your subscribers, at the end of the day, everything always comes back to one platform, and that platform is Instagram. You need to be able to execute and address the creation, setup, warm up, content creation, comments, DMs, literally every single fucking aspect of Instagram in order to maximize what you get out of it. Because at the end of the day, every single traffic source that you do, whether it's TikTok, Reddit, FetLife, dating apps, they all come back to Instagram. Every single person, whether you know it or not, has an initial reaction if they find your creator on another platform like Reddit or some other shit, to immediately attempt to try to find your creator's Instagram by either manually searching on their app on their phone or doing a Google search or whatever to try and see more. It's literally the first reaction that people have, is to try to find the Instagram. It's the first thing that people think of. So in order to 10x your subscribers on OF, you have to execute everything I'm about to talk about perfectly, and you will get more overall conversions from all traffic sources, since everything leads to Instagram. But now let's actually talk about all the little details that I just referenced, right? So now let's scroll in a little bit here so we can see what we're talking about. So of course, a lot of this stuff can be used interchangeably with threads, right? I'm not really going to talk about threads a whole lot in this, but threads and Instagram go hand in hand. I'll probably talk about a thread strategy that we use for some of our creators a little bit in the future, but I really want to focus on Instagram, right? So the very first part is account creation, right? A lot of people probably come to this video, maybe they haven't even created their OnlyFans yet, or maybe you're looking to start a brand new account for a new creator, right? Who just started on OnlyFans, right? So that this is a really important part, right? Because it comes down to the very beginning, right? You can create an account on Instagram with just an email. You can do it with the phone number. The phone number potentially can help the trust score. Of course, not everyone has a million phone numbers that they can reuse. Of course, there's these text verified services and shit like that. But you have to remember that if this Instagram grows and you need to get re-verified by sending a text message to a text verified number, you're fucked, because that's a one-time use number. So use a real number so that you can use again if you're going to do this. That's kind of optional though. You're pretty much good with just email. Used an aged Gmail provider, it's fine. I'll give you mine if you really want one. But the main thing you need to be paying attention to when you're creating the main Instagram page, right, is that the username, the it shouldn't be like Rose 7200 hot girl. Like, it needs to be unique. It needs to be something that actually catches your eye, right? And it ideally should represent a niche. This is like going to be your brand eventually, right? It's really, really important that it's a name that is memorable, that when you do grow, that people are like, oh yeah, I know who that is. Like, okay, yeah, it makes sense, rather than just some generic weird name that is not original, right? And I know it's kind of a pain in the ass to come up with something original, but it's worth it, especially for the mother page, right? But on Instagram, what you can get into, and I'll talk about this, throughout this video, but there's a multi-account strategy. You can have less unique names with a multi-account strategy, right? They should still represent the model, but when you create a lot of different Instagram accounts, and I would say make a bunch early on, right? Like, it's important, of course, to make the mother page early on, but make some backups too, right? It's very important to get a lot of different accounts growing simultaneously, because what happens is that you get more traffic from that, right? You create several different ecosystems of traffic within Instagram if you have a bunch of different backups posting content. You're actively working on growing these backups, right? You, of course, have your main page where you post the most original and best content, but you have these backups for other types of content. You use spoofers. You do whatever it is to get as much content out there, right? That's what it's all about when it comes to account creation, and this is what you need to have in mind. But now let's move on to arguably the most important part about this entire thing, which is the account setup, right? This is where you lay the blueprint for the remainder of the time that the account exists, right? This is going to save you a bunch of time and headache later on where you're constantly going back and changing things. Like, it's just better to get it done right the very, very first time, right? So when you're looking at the account setup, the first 14 days, there's going to be a little icon underneath the profile picture, right? This is something that says new. And during this phase, it's really hard to grow the account, right? And the reason why is because people see this new and they automatically think to themselves, oh, scam, like it's a scam. So instead of posting and trying to grow the account during this time, in my opinion, the best thing you can do is just set it up and come up with a really, really good strategy and everything that comes into it, right? Content strategies. You really want to work with your creators to kind of come up with an idea as to how you're going to get content posted, what the creator wants to post on social media, all of those types of things, right? Spend time doing that. Of course, get some posts on the page during this time too. Don't expect results from the posts that you make during this time, but understand that making posts during this time spread out during this 2-week period, right, is going to allow you to have social proof so that when you do start really promoting the account, really start pushing for more followers, it's not going to be an account with 2 posts, right? That's important during this part. I would post like maybe every 2 days, get like 7 or 8 posts up during this period of time, something that makes the account look legit, right? Some of her best content. Then start to work on the algorithm, right? You want to have it so that the algorithm that is assigned to this creator is somewhat aligned to the niche. So what I would do is, get out there and comment on posts within the niche of the model, get out there and like the post, skip through anything that doesn't have anything to do with the model, and develop the algorithm, because Instagram will look at that when it comes to promoting it. Like, hey, this person's involved within this community. Let's try to get her content pushed within this community, right? Doesn't always work 100% of the time, but it's something that you should definitely be conscious of, right? It's a little detail to be aware of. And at the end of the day, what you're doing here is that you're building legitimacy, right? Super important to make the account look as real as possible. I'll talk about this a little bit more, especially during the stories part, but you just want to make it so that the account looks real once it's time to start pushing for followers. And now let's talk about the profile picture, right? And people probably, when they see me talk about this, they're like, oh, Petty, it's literally just the profile picture. Just pick something and move on. And sure, okay, I understand. But at the same time, you have to think about it in the sense of, okay, the profile picture is the one thing that people see if you comment on a post, right? If your comment happens to go viral on some post that is already viral as well, and it's a shitty profile picture, you're not gonna have anyone clicking through to the profile, right? So what makes a profile picture good, right? It has to be probably one of the model's best pieces of content. It doesn't necessarily have to be a professional photo, but should still be eye-catching. It has to have some consistency with their brand, right? I would say, like, if they're an actual model, like, then sure, post something that is actually like professional, right? But if not, if it's like a girl next door, then it can just be like a bedroom photo, right? The lighting should be great. The quality, these are relatively self-explanatory, but you'd be surprised how many people just completely ignore this stuff, right? It's super, super important because, when you're looking at it, like I just said, when you make a comment on a post, that's what gets seen, right? And you're gonna get people to click on the profile. You're gonna get people to tap on the profile because it is good. These are some examples, like obviously showing the face. Like if she has a really pretty face, then you wanna have something that showcases that, right? If she is a beach girl, like whatever it is, right? Something that really does a good job at showcasing these different features will get you more conversions in the long run. So set it up properly. Now let's talk about highlights, right? Now highlights are super, super important because this is what's going to show the model as being real and being fun and being interesting, right? And these are going to be things that are literally pinned to the top of the profile. So it's important to execute these right. These should be showing different aspects about the model's life, right? Her traveling, going to the gym, going out to eat, whatever it is, right? And should tell a story, right? It should tell a story about significant moments during that model's life. And of course, this takes effort, right? Like you aren't just going to be able to just spam some random shit on the story and turn it into a highlight. You have to actually think it through, time it out. So build a story that the model went on a vacation for like 4 days to Mykonos or something, or to Miami, and spread those stories out throughout 4 days and then add them to the highlight, right? This needs to be executed properly. It's not fucking easy. You can't be lazy about it, but you need to think to yourself like, okay, when am I going to have a highlight for this, right? It has to be something that you have to fully think of. And it can be real events that the model's doing too, right? It doesn't have to be completely made up events. Or like maybe she has a highlight for the gym, right? Guys love watching girls go to the gym. So get some stuff that she's going to the gym all the time about, right? And the main thing about highlights is that, like I said before, it's all about showing she's real. She's a human. She's relatable, right? This goes great with girl next doors, of course, but every single niche, I don't care if you're a dominatrix. I don't care if you're a fucking fitness model. I don't care what niche you are. Highlights are essential. They need to show something about your life, who you are, something that people can relate to, and it will help with your conversions. And now let's talk about the profile bio, right? The profile bio is very, very important. With the profile bio though, simple's more. Let's be real, guys. Don't go fucking crazy. Don't turn it into an advertisement about why they should subscribe to OF and, every little detail. Like, keep it fucking simple, especially like for a relatively simple niche. Like if there is no niche, or like girl next door or something like that, like keep it simple. But it doesn't matter what niche it is. Like in my opinion, simple is always going to be more. Putting things like, the age and location are usually good ideas to kind of get started with. It can be different. You don't necessarily have to, but this is typically what we do for a lot of our creators, is that we'll put the age and location. We think emojis are great. Don't go crazy. Don't want to be like freaking emoji after every single word. Like, don't be stupid about it, but emojis are great. And then, the key is making the page look good. Like maybe put the age and location and then throw a joke in underneath. And that's a great bio, like a joke, right? And that's it. Make it so that it just seems like it's just another girl on Instagram, right? Especially for the girl next doors. Like, of course, if it's niche dependent, like tweak it up, change the idea, change the strategy based on different bios. Like try a bunch of different bios too. Like you'll sometimes see, like if you tweak the bio, you'll sometimes see conversions go up just purely based on the bio. So play around with a bunch of different ideas, but at the end of the day, keep it simple, make it real. And then here's where the page differs from any other page, right? You're setting up the bio so that it looks like any other girl. The link in the bio is where it differs from other girls, right? At the end of the day, everyone knows what the link in bio means for girls, especially attractive girls on Instagram for the most part, right? Now, when we're first growing an account, we actually don't put the link in the bio at all, right? Because it goes back to what I was saying before about how it looks like a scam if it has a link in the bio, has 40 followers. No attractive girl has 100 followers. It's just not something that happens. So when you're growing the account, you will get more followers if you don't have the link in the bio at first. We usually don't put it until 1,000, 2,000 followers. Lately, it's been like 5,000 followers is when we'll put in the link in the bio. And the reason for that, like I said, is you just want to have the account look real to get more followers and get as many followers as fast as possible at the beginning. Now, when you first are setting up the link in the bio, you want to have it so that it only has one option, and that option is to go to OF, right? There's no other options, no other socials, nothing else. You want to make sure your conversions are absolute best at the beginning, at least. It does become a time later on where you're developing the model's brand on many different platforms, where it's cool to put all the other platforms because you want to grow on other platforms like Twitter and you want to expand that reach, right? But at the beginning, only want to give them one option, right? One option. There's a bunch of different link in bio options that you can do, like beacons we used to do. Linktree, of course, is really common. Get All My Links, in my opinion, is the best, right? Especially from the agency standpoint, because you can create an agency account, right? And Get All My Links, as long as you pay for it, you get really amazing analytics, right? First of all, it protects your page. It has a cloak, according to what they say at least, where it makes it so that the account, if someone who they deem as a mod, they have a safe version, right? Which actually can potentially block the OF or whatever, right? They have a way to protect your Instagram account, right? So pay for the account. You can set it up for all the creators within your agency, right? Under one account, manage all the links in bio. It's really, really nice. Then it has a bunch of different data and analytics where you can see, location tracking, for example, where you can see where the audience is coming from, what parts of the world, daily click links. You can have daily conversion reports. There's anything ranging to like how it all connects to the tracking link itself, which you can actually set up and really just allows you to better funnel people from Instagram and make tweaks and changes because it gives you the necessary data to be able to make those types of calls, right? So I recommend Get All My Links. Of course, this isn't meant to be a sales pitch for them, but that's what we use it for. And you really have to pay attention to every little detail of what happens as a result of those conversions so you can fine tune everything on Instagram. And then at the end of the day, when they become an influencer, you want to have it so it's set up and connected to all socials, right? Because you want there to be a giant ecosystem of people going to all different pages and growing everywhere, right? But like I said at the beginning, you want this to be one option, especially when it's like less than 50K followers, honestly. And so now let's move on to the account warm. All right. So the account warm up is super, super important. Previously, we used to call the warm up period the 2 weeks where that little new icon was there. We've been doing a month. It usually takes about a month to really get a lot of this stuff done, right? Because you have to spread it out, right? It's super important. So, there's a couple things that goes into this account warm up, right? So first of all, your VAs or whoever's running the Instagram accounts, they need to spend like 20 minutes a day scrolling the page, or scrolling the FYP, or in Instagram, I should say the explore page, and engaging in content within the niche, right? I've already talked about this before, but like stuff, comment stuff, ask questions in the comments, right? Have clickbait, put clickbait type stuff, controversy type stuff. This is what's going to get people to look at your creator's account. Good or bad publicity is still publicity at the end of the day, right? And the content should eventually make it so that the explore page shows content that's within the same niche. And then you have a surplus of options to comment on and engage with in the community, right? Really, really good to always be engaging within the community within your niche, right? Now, when it comes to everything else, you should be always posting stories, right? Stories are so important to just making the account real. They should tell a story too, right? They're called stories for a reason, right? You should have something so that, hey, like they woke up, good morning, and like, hey, I'm going for a run now. And then, at nighttime, like post a picture of them going to dinner. Like, don't just randomly throw random shit there. Like, oh, like a dinner picture at like 8 o'clock in the morning. No, don't do it. Like, you have to actually tell a legitimate story. Super, super important. And you should be doing this during the warm-up phase, right? Because this is where you're going to start to kind of get those good habits developed for your VAs, and you're just going to have a process, and you can even turn some of these stories into highlights, which I already talked about. When it comes to this warm-up phase, this first month, you need to have 20 posts on the page. I would say about 80% of them could be pictures, 20% can be reels, at least during the warm-up phase, right? You have to come up with, the captions. You have to kind of come up with a strategy around hashtag. How are you going to use hashtags? Some people say not, because keywords are more important. There's different things. There's always going to be changes in the algorithm and what the algorithm likes the most. You have to play around with everything, right? And then come up with different call to actions, everything, right? So super important. Once you get past the warm-up phase, I would say reels become more important than pictures. Pictures are great to pin at the top of the profile, but reels is what's going to get you traffic to the page, right? And so you just need to cover like every single little detail that you can possibly think of when it comes to warming up the account, right? And once again, there's a common theme here, right? You need to show the account as a real person, someone that fans can relate to and they want to get to know and eventually convert to high quality OnlyFans subscribers. But now let's move on to content creation, right? The questions around, oh, what type of content should I be making? Or how much content should I be making? And how much should I be posting? Like all those types of questions, right? People have those questions all the time, right? And to be honest, there's no correct answer, right? There's a couple different strategies you can do. I'm going to talk about a couple things here, right? One thing's not even on this presentation I'm talking about right now, but like I said before, the first 2 weeks, first month or so, you want to get at least 20 pieces of content on the page, make it look as real as possible. Then what people will typically do is they'll start doing, one post per day. Okay, so one post per day, and then they'll bump it up to 2 to 3 posts per day, focused on reels, right? Because reels have been hot for a long time and are typically pretty good on getting on the explore page to get non-followers to view your page, right? So, when you get to this point, I would say 5 is a little bit much per day. That's when you start looking at that multi-account strategy that I was talking before. Use that surplus of content on other accounts to get other ecosystems built out. Now, when it comes to other types of strategies, there are strategies, especially for girl next doors. Like this strategy right here that I just spoke about is great for someone who, is just within a specific niche and the content literally is the thing that sells everything, right? If you are a girl next door, which I'm assuming, 50 to 70% of creators on OF are girl next door, right? I would be more focused on developing strategies around the stories and highlights, right? With girls next door, the way that you want to set up their account is that you want to have it so that you're only posting the absolute best content on their page, and it doesn't have to be that frequent, right? These are for accounts where you're not looking to generate like a ton of traffic from the Instagram page. Maybe your strategy is like Reddit, or maybe your strategy is TikTok. Like you're getting a lot of traffic from TikTok or dating apps, for example, and Instagram's more of the landing page, right? You only want to post the best stuff once per week and then develop a really, really good strategic story strategy that shows day in the life every single day for that creator, right? And then from there, then the account looks so real that guys guys never would question, right? It's just a regular girl who also, oh, by the way, I happen to have an OF, right? And then you'll see the growth on those types of accounts do really, really well. Even though you're not going crazy, you're not just spamming posts and shit, like you're being very selective, you're being very strategic with every single thing that gets placed onto that page, whether it's the stories or the actual posts, right? So, at the end of the day, there's a couple different creators that you can really look at as examples, right? This Marie D, she originally started off as like an office niche, right? She did really good with that. Now she's kind of developed into like more of just like modeling and kind of generic content because she's gotten so big, right? She has 2 million followers right here. Fitness, all of her content's fitness related. It's pretty funny. She has a humor element in her content. And then Carolina over here, she started out as a girl next door, a relatively stereotypical girl. She's really fit now. She's obviously doing really well for herself, but she started out as a girl next door. These are girls who really executed everything properly. If you look at their page, it's primarily reels. You literally look at all these pages, they're pretty much all reels that they have on their pages when you scroll it. So that's really important to understand as well. But at the end of the day, work with your agency, come up with the strategy based on your niche, whether it's something you want to do mass posting and really develop traffic specifically from your posts on Instagram, or use it as that landing page where you're just posting the absolute best stuff and then having that girl next door approach where it's like, hey, I'm posting day in the life on my story all the time and telling a story to my fans and showing myself as realistic as possible. Now, what about comments and DMs on your own posts and your own DMs, right? So let's talk about that a little bit because you can utilize those and get a good amount of traffic and get some success from managing those proper, right? So comments are inevitable. You're going to always get comments on your creators' posts because guys like to comment and try to get attention from the girl, right? Really, really important to manage these comments and strike up conversations because if you have a lot of commenting going on in your comment, it's going to boost it in the algorithm. It's going to get more eyes on the posts. Really, really important that you don't just ignore the comments that occur on the creators' pages that for the Instagrams that you are running, right? Now, the other thing that's really important that a lot of people don't do is deal with the DMs, right? The DMs can be a great source of traffic if you execute them properly, right? Now, when it comes to the DMs, you never want to be too active in there because it's not realistic that a girl is actually actively in her DMs, like messaging every single guy back super quick. Like you need to have an element of realism where the responses themselves to the DMs should be relatively short. So a lot of times what you're going to get is that you're going to get someone in the DMs and they show like a fire emoji to a story, right? Or say maybe they compliment the girl. It's like, hey, you're so beautiful. What I would do as an example is respond to that and say thanks. Don't even do exclamation. You can do just like period or whatever, right? Then the fan will see that and be like, oh shit, she responded. And then I'll try to keep the conversation going, right? You don't want to do more than one response per day because this is a model. This is a creator. This is a very pretty girl. She doesn't have time to just sit there and respond to DMs all day, right? But where she does have time to respond to DMs all day is the OF, right? Because that's where she makes money. So you respond, the guy gets excited because he sees a response, asks a question, you don't respond for another day or even 2 days. Then the next time you respond, you say, hey, I'm so sorry. Like I'm honestly not on this page that much. I'm on my private page. I can give you the link if you want. And then leave it at that. Don't even send the link yet. If he responds again, it's like, yeah, send it to me. You wait another 2 days, 1 to 2 days, scarcity, right? You're building this illusion that this girl is so busy. She does want to talk to the guy, but she's building this illusion where it's like, okay, like I'm really busy. Like I have a lot of people DMing me. I don't really have time to fully talk to you. But if you want to, here's my link. So like in another 2 days, you send the link, right? You say, hey, it's a free trial. Like, here you go. Look forward to talking to you over there. Goes over to the OF, goes to the chatters sell them. Boom, make money, right? That's what it's all about. It all gets converted over to OnlyFans. But all right, so we've talked about a lot, right? And people are probably looking at this like, okay, great. Love it, Patty. Thanks. But how do we actually grow? How do we actually get the account to grow? Okay, let's talk about it, right? So we have our growth strategies here, right? Super, super important. There's several different things that you can do when it comes to growing an account from scratch on Instagram, right? Number one, boosting. You can actually boost Instagram Reels. Pay money to Instagram to get views, and you can target specific audiences. Not necessarily the most ideal thing. It does get quite expensive, especially if the content doesn't hit with certain markets, but it's something that is possible. It's nice because you can target very specific audiences, right? You can pick which countries it gets broadcasted to. Not the best in my opinion, right? Other things that you can do are shoutouts, right? Shout out pages are really, really good, especially if you're a niche specific creator, right? If you have your niche specifically around feet, there's tons of feed pages that will repost your content, tag you, and you'll get followers, right? When you're doing these shoutouts, you have to kind of vet them out. You have to take some time. A lot of them will do it for free. Some of them you do have to pay, but you have to pay attention to several different things, right? So for example, when you go to these shoutout pages, one of the things you need to look at is the likes to followers ratio. If they have a shit ton of followers, but not that many likes or not that many views or not that many comments, red flag. It seems like they bought followers and you're going to either waste your money or waste your time with that specific page, right? It needs to have a very close ratio. You'll develop an eye for it after time. It's something that we've developed an eye for. I don't really have a ton of time to explain everything that you need to be looking for. Another thing, comments. When you look at the comments of these shoutout pages, they should hopefully be in English, because if they're all in some random language, it's not a page that's being broadcasted to a country you want to be getting fans from necessarily, right? So bots, I've talked about this in other videos before. Sometimes it makes sense to buy a shit ton of bots for a page, make the page private, and then funnel people from other places. So you develop a long list of people requesting to follow the page, then delete all the bots, open the floodgates, let people join the page, and then go from there. Can be a good strategy. It is a long-term strategy. Depends on what you're trying to do. We don't do this as much anymore. We just prefer to post and then do some of these other things like shoutouts. And then mass DM strategies. You can actually use tools like Vanzilla to actually mass DM from various accounts and bring traffic to the page, right? It's actually really effective. Look into it. I'm not going to develop a guide on Vanzilla right now, but you should definitely look into it if that's an automation path that you'd be interested in going, right? And then last but not least, collabs. Collabs are an amazing way to grow your page. What we'll even do, if the collab is worth it, we'll literally pay for the travel. Because first of all, it's a write-off. But second of all, it is something that can really benefit everyone, where if we get these creators to collab with each other, and then maybe creator A has a pretty large following on Instagram and shouts out creator B, and then next thing you know, creator B gets 3,000 followers because of a shout out or a collab, right? So something that's really easy to kind of do, but you need to actually find people who are willing to do that, right? That's really, really important. But these are kind of the main growth strategies that we would typically advise for, specifically on Instagram. But that's pretty much it, guys. Obviously, there's a lot of different moving parts and different things that I talked about here. And of course, maybe there's small little pieces that were missed. But at the end of the day, this will help you get more subscribers, a lot more subscribers, by perfecting everything that happens on Instagram, right? Doing each one of these items that I talked about and executing them perfectly, right? And at the end of the day, any level of improvement equals success, right? More views, more conversions, more fans, more people to chat with, which makes more money. This is easily something that can be scaled to something that's 50K or more per month on OnlyFans. That's what it's all about, guys. And the last thing I want to leave you guys with, I know a lot of creators watch my videos, and I've been reached out to by a lot of creators. If you do want to potentially talk about working with us, because these are the things that we do for our creators. And if you want to potentially get results like these, or even like something like this, then message me, or even better, I'm gonna put a link where you can actually book a call with me. In that link, you will have to put in your Instagram, or you have to put in some sort of information associated with who you are as a creator. And then from there, we can schedule a call together and go from there and potentially start working together if there's a fit. And at the end of the day, you can use it for free information for yourself if it is not a fit. But other than that, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.